Hello friends, welcome to the continuation of Wiggly Question Wednesday. Alright, I'm going to try and talk a little bit less today because I didn't get through very many questions yesterday at all. I'm sorry about that. But the first question I've got today is, what's your favourite song you sang while in the Wiggles? And that's come from H. McKenna 09. Now, I did answer a similar question yesterday and I think I got to the conclusion that Monkey Dance was my favourite song that I sang in the Wiggles. But there's lots of great songs I sang in the Wiggles. I mean, if we look at songs that I sang on albums in the studio but never sang live, well, there'd be a heap of those, I reckon. Can't remember. See, this is where my Wiggles brain is failing me. In fact, I reckon if somebody said to me, name every song the Wiggles sang, I couldn't even tell you, and I wouldn't even remember it. So I can't tell you what my favourite song that I sang in the studio but never sang live was, but for live, I reckon it was Monkey Dance. Now, next question, if I can call it up. At Disneyland and Walt Disney World, which Disney characters did you meet? And that comes from Kyle Lindsay 100. Okay, so when we played Disney World and Disneyland, well, we met Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, Pluto, probably met Cinderella too, but I definitely remember meeting those first guys. They were a lot of fun to meet. You know, it was a big thrill to meet these Disney characters, being just these four blokes from Australia who travelled overseas and took their brand of entertainment to the world, meeting some of the greatest creators of children's entertainment, family entertainment, being Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. What an honour that was. It was really exciting. So a great opportunity to perform at Disney World and Disneyland, and I'll never forget it. Okay, so this has come from Swan TV. They've said, oh yay! My question is, how did you come up with the now famous name for the band or group? So the name The Wiggles came up when we were writing our first album of songs at the Macquarie University Institute of Early Childhood in Waverley. It's not there anymore, it's now a school of some sort. And we were in the big lecture theatre there. We were recording songs and we were talking about a name for the group. Now, I think it was Murray said something like, we need some sort of name like, you know, like the Beatles or something or other, like Anthony was already in a group called the Cockroaches. So we wanted something like the something or other. And we had a song called Get Ready to Wiggle, which was actually written for the Cockroaches originally. Get ready to wiggle, we've been ready for so long. So we thought, let's call ourselves The Wiggles. And from that moment forward, that's what it was. Never changed. And yeah, Alec Borden has said, does your first Wiggles shirt still fit you? In brackets, the one you wore in the Wiggles' first year. Well, that shirt is a real work of art, I've got to say. That first CD cover, the shirts we wore was wear something bright, wear something colourful. I had to find something, and I think Anthony did as well. So I just went out to the shops and found the most awful looking shirt you could imagine. It looked like, without wanting to be crude, but it looked like somebody had vomited on this shirt. It's just bright and colourful blue, green, yellow, yeah. Because it was 20-something years ago. It was a long, long time ago. And do I have the shirt? I don't think I do. Does it still fit? Probably not, because I was 19 at the time. I was very, very slim, very slender. I was a size 34 waist. In fact, the guys used to call me Beanpole. That was my nickname in the Wiggles. Anthony called me Beanpole one day because that's like the pole you stick beside a beanstalk as the beanstalk grows up. I'm now no longer that tall and skinny. I'm no longer a beanpole. I'm a lot more solid. No, the shirt doesn't fit me because I don't have it anymore. I have an alternate shirt that I bought, and this one is more like somebody vomited on the shirt, and I think it's on display at the Powerhouse Museum. I'm moving on to the next question now, and this one comes from Thomas Fan 101. What was it like making the Wiggles movie, and are there any interesting stories from behind the scenes? Well, the Wiggles movie was a real challenge. We'd never done anything sort of as, dare I say, professional before that, because we'd always produced things ourselves. The Wiggles movie, I mean, we were making that sort of for 20th Century Fox. It wasn't, made by them, but we knew that we had a deal to distribute it through 20th Century Fox. So there was a lot of pressure on us for that. The four of us were executive producers with Jeff's brother, Hilton. Hilton Fat was one of the EPs. The fact that we were making a movie meant that people were going to take us more seriously, so we had to do it well. I think we shot the movie over 5 weeks. So it was 5 weeks of consistently turning up at 5 a.m. most days and finishing around 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And yeah, it was hard work, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, one thing with the Wiggles, we always wanted to try and have fun with whatever it was that we were doing, whether it was a movie or TV or video content, DVDs. We were working with actors who were proper actors. I mean, none of us were proper actors. I mean, if you've ever seen anything the Wiggles have done, you'll know we are not actors. We're barely dancers at the best of times, but we could deliver lines and we could talk to the camera like we had to do to talk to children. So any interesting stories from behind the scenes? Yes. There's a scene in the movie where we were at the place that was the school, and we were in the big red car waiting to take off somewhere. And being the driver of the big red car, I mean, that thing wasn't the greatest piece of machinery ever. And it had its faults and it had its, risks associated with driving it. It was safe, but you just never knew what you were going to get with the big red car. And this one was a real car. It was a petrol engine. It was pretty much a real car. It was built on a VW chassis, I think a VW Beetle chassis. We were taking off in the big red car and I put my foot down on the accelerator and it kind of really took off. And I take off in the car and I can remember the other Wiggles in the back as we're going. It's taking off and it's fishtailing as we're going and they're all going, whoa! And it was like, man, we're going to have to do that again. But we ended up using that shot in the movie for some reason. And I think you'll find that the audio of the guys going, whoa, is the actual audio of them freaking out in the car because they thought I was some crazy driver, which I was, but I didn't mean to be. It's just that the big red car accelerator kind of stuck and just went and we used that take. So that's one funny story. There's probably others which I'll give some thought to. Okay, we've got another question here from Fred. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Fred. I'm sorry, but it's a great question. Do you have any crazy experiences you had working with the Wiggles? And if so, can you please tell us? Crazy experiences with the Wiggles. I don't know about crazy. We had a lot of fun experiences. I guess one thing that we always found interesting was, particularly when we went to the US, we were always astounded at the lengths people would go to try to meet us. That to us seemed crazy. And I'm not saying that in a way that I want to offend people because I don't think anybody is crazy. It just seemed so strange to us as these 4 teachers from Australia that people really badly wanted to meet us. And we had tour buses. The number of times that our bus driver would tell us that people had been following the bus from town to town. And, this is why to us it seemed crazy because we would finish our shows at night time and we'd hit the road about 9 o'clock. But our drivers would tell us that some cars would be following the bus this whole time. It's like driving through the night. I mean, it was crazy enough that we were doing it, but that people would follow the bus just to meet us at the hotel. It seemed crazy to us, because we're just 4 guys. I mean, yeah, look, okay, so here's a crazy story in my book. This is crazy. In the early days of doing shows here in Australia, we would find these ways of making the same show every day different, which was really cool, and that's what, it was really that, that sense of it not being a scripted show, but it had a format to it, and that made the show evolve and it became something different. So Anthony started out as Captain Feathersword, and in the early days of doing the Wiggles shows, it was very low budget. It was just the 4 of us doing the characters. And we were working 7 days a week, so we were doing shows 7 days a week, day in, day out. And we ended up Sundays were Jeff's day to be Captain Feathersword. He did a decent job. He was no Anthony, and he was certainly no Paul Paddock, but he did his own interpretation of Captain Feathersword, which for us provided great amusement on a Sunday when we were going crazy after doing 7 days straight of Wiggles shows. And we're in a little country town here in Australia called Whyalla. So we told Paul that he wasn't doing Captain Feathersword that day. This is Paul Rogers, not Paul Paddock. This is before Paul Paddock was with us. So this must have been 93, I reckon. Captain Feathersword Sunday was back for Jeff. And Jeff had not rehearsed it with us after maybe a year or so of not doing it. In this hall with 20 people in it, they were responding quite well to the rest of the show. But when Captain Feathersword came out, you could hear a pin drop. Jeff did not remember his lines. He didn't remember the purpose of the skits. And, and we were no help to him. We just stood there on stage laughing at him and laughing at the fact that Captain Feathersword Sundays were back and these poor people in Whyalla were getting dudded. So I apologise to those people that were at that third show in Whyalla on that Sunday. It got to the point where I think Jeff was speaking with an Irish accent, top of the morning to you, Greg, and all this kind of stuff. It was really quite funny. I don't know if the audience ever got it, but this is what being with the Wiggles was like. It was not, people often will say to us, did you set out to conquer the world, or did you set out to make an empire? Did you set out? We didn't set out to do anything. We were able to do as well as we did because we didn't set out to do all those things. We just set out to create good quality children's content, and that was our focus. We were still those larrikin guys, those 4 teachers, those 4 blokes, those 4 friends. We weren't these big producers. We weren't these people that were like, okay, don't deviate from the script. You can't deviate from that. It's got to be this and it's got to be that. That, if we were like that, I don't think the Wiggles would have worked. And also, what was your favourite guest to work with? Well, there's been a lot of people that we did guest duets with, and one that I was really thrilled to meet was Barry Williams, who played Greg Brady, because I grew up watching the Brady Bunch, and I guess the character Greg Brady was a bit of a idol of mine because my name was Greg and he was this sort of mature, cool dude, and he got into music, and these songs that they sang were just brilliant songs. And then years down the track, somehow, I think Barry Williams had a little boy who was into the Wiggles, and he got in touch with us and we asked him if he wanted to be a part of one of our videos, and he said yes. So that was a real thrill. So I remember Paul Field, who's Anthony's brother, who's one of the managers of the Wiggles, he and I went into Sydney to pick Barry Williams up from his hotel. And when we got there to pick him up, he was just kind of sitting down having a cup of coffee or whatever. And, the Wiggles is usually all about, work, work, work. It's, time is money. Let's get this done. Let's get into this. And Barry was there having a cup of tea, and he said, oh, come on, guys, sit down and we'll just have a cup of coffee. And we kind of sat there for a while. I think Paul and I were both kind of feeling, well, look, this is wonderful. We're getting to spend this time talking with Barry Williams, this major star, but really people waiting for us back at the studio. We can't keep everybody waiting. So, we met so many of these people over the years that were people that we'd looked up to over a period of time. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, Robert De Niro, Barry Williams, John Fogerty, Mick Fleetwood, even Neil Sedaka came to one of our shows. So there were stacks of people that we met. Some of them we stayed in touch with more than others. Just really good people. And just, it's kind of weird. It's probably like, when you guys say, can you tell us any of your crazy experiences? Well, these are probably crazy experiences for these other people too. The fact that they met the Wiggles and performed on a Wiggles DVD with them, that's probably really bizarre for them. Okay, this looks like it's from Will Wiggle 51. Do you still have any props or original music clips or film that was never released to the public? And if so, what are they? What I think is probably Wiggles TV series number 6 that I was a part of, but it was right at the time that I was leaving the group in 2006. So this would, there'd be stacks of stuff that we probably shot in terms of live shows and things that never saw the light of day. But this, I think we shot the whole series of what was supposed to be called Wiggle and Learn. So there's a whole series of that was shot with me that never saw the light of day there. But when I left the group at that point in time, they knew that they were going to have to reshoot that again with Sam when he came in. So they reshot that with Sam, and I think it was released under the name of Wiggle and Learn. But when we did it, all the songs were sung live. So we had a little band in the studio with us there when we were filming, and the band were playing in the corner. So yeah, that was a lot of fun doing that one. But that's probably never seen the light of day. I think there might be one clip out there of something or other. Maybe the Wiggles will release some more stuff. So let's hope they do, because for you guys, the older generation who like seeing that stuff. I'm going to answer one more question, and then I'm going to have to call it a quit. So moving on, do the Wiggles have a vault? And what happens to concerts that are filmed but never released? Well, I kind of touched on that already. I reckon they do have a vault, and there would be so much stuff in that vault. And the vault is probably now full of formats of video and whatever that are out of date, because now I'm sure that everything that's shot is done digitally. And back in the early days of filming for the Wiggles, we would have filmed everything on some sort of, beta film or whatever it was called, I don't know, digi-beta. I reckon most of it would have been released over time, but there would be some stuff there. Plenty of bloopers, I'm sure, over the years. Stacks of bloopers that will have never seen the light of day. There's some really good bloopers. And they're always fun to watch. So, I don't know, maybe keep watching the Wiggles channel, and you can go and see what the Wiggles are posting these days. They probably, like I said, they probably won't post stuff with me in it, but they'd have bloopers from the stuff they're doing now, I'm sure. They're all very good performers, but I reckon they still have bloopers. Everybody has bloopers. If you want to ask more questions, post them below. If you like the fact that I'm talking a lot and giving lots of information, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, put a thumbs down, okay? And I'll get the message that you don't want me to talk as much, and I'll try and keep the answers a lot more brief. And don't forget, you can subscribe somewhere down here. I think it's probably here is the subscribe thing. If you hit that one, you can subscribe to the channel, because, let's spread the love. Let's spread the love for the Wiggles. Spread the love for the knowledge that I'm giving you about what it's like to be behind the scenes with the Wiggles, the great phenomenon that's still going on with what they're doing today. It's been an amazing experience, a great part of my life, and obviously it's been a big part of your lives too. So let's keep it going. Share the love, like the video, and subscribe along, and I'll see you real soon. Bye, guys.